The All Blacks are coming to Twickenham, and there's always a huge amount of excitement for this fixture. Who will Steve Borthwick pick at 10? What's the balance of the back line going to be like? And what about the back row? Some big decisions to be made there as well. I'm going to dig into all of that and a whole lot more as I try to predict England's selections for the All Blacks this coming Saturday. Just one squad update to let you know about Mr. Elliot Daly has returned to the squad. Not played since he broke his arm for the Lions, but he's back looking fit and strong. Will he be ready to come back this week? He's a clutch player. He was on great form before he got injured. What a story that would be if he's involved in the 23 this weekend. You know, in these big test matches, you need these players with the experience to see it through. He's done it so many times for England, particularly actually in the last couple of years. He's really come back to be an important member of the squad. Okay, what do we think about the Fiji game? I thought overall it was a pretty decent run out against a very challenging Fiji team. I did the match review on that one. I sort of went into the details of why they're really difficult to play against. Plus the fact that Fiji are just a very good side now. They've got a lot of their build in place. So I think England will overall be happy, although they want to control some more of the things that they can control. Some of the handling was a little bit off. Some of the running lines were a little bit off. They would like to tidy some of those bits up, but overall they'll be happy to come through that test. Okay, as we go into the selections here, what I think, starting off talking about the forwards, the Scots went pretty damn well against the All Blacks this last week, didn't they? Really well. And in terms of their forwards, they went big. They went big across the back five of the scrum with Gregor Brown at blindside, Matt Fagerson at 7. That's huge. And they got good ground for it. They carried hard against the All Blacks and made dent after dent after dent. Do we think England could do the same? Because they could. They could go like Chesham, Cunningham South, Curry in the back row. That is a sizable back row, but I'm not convinced they will. I think they're going to stick to their own script. I think they're going to stick to what they know. So this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Genge, Cowan-Dickie and Stewart to start. I think this is renowned as the best, strongest starting lineup now. And there's a good balance there between solid scrummage, gritty, carry, breakdown threat with Cowan-Dickie in particular. So I think it's a really well-balanced front row, as well as probably being the number one in each position as well. Itoje and Chesham, fairly well established there as well in the second row partnership. In the absence of George Martin, I think that is England's premier locking pair. Now the back row, all kinds of options, really. I've gone with Underhill, and actually with what I've gone for, these guys could have been in any different shirt. And to be honest, the number on their back doesn't really make a huge amount of difference because they'll get used in the role that they're strongest for, depending on the circumstance. But Underhill plays in the biggest games. If he's fit and available, he plays in the biggest games, and he always delivers. He really does deliver in the biggest games. So I've no doubt he'll play, and then it's a question of who goes with him. And I think England want some carry to start off with. I think England wants some heavy artillery. So I'm going to go with Cunningham South, and I'm going to put him in the number 8 jersey. And then I think Earl is undeniable. I think he's been probably England's best forward so far this autumn, off the back of a very good couple of years as well. So I think he has to play, and it's unlucky when you've got a lot of good players. Some people like Guy Pepper, who has had 2 really good games, he's not going to make the starting lineup for me, and it's tough on him, but these are the picks that you've got to make sometimes. He's got a lot of time ahead of him. He may well grow into one of these players that becomes indispensable, but he's not there yet, despite 2 very good games. Of course, with Cunningham South in there, you also have the line-out option, which losing Pepper took away. Having 3 credible jumpers, I think, is absolutely vital in the modern game. Into the backs, and as always, it's about the 10. It's always about the 10, and for me, it's still kind of up in the air. When you think about this, though, and the decisions that have been made around this, you also have to think about the weather and what type of game we're likely to see. And the weather, apparently, it's looking like it might be a little bit wet on Saturday, so a little bit less ball in hand. And also, you look at the Kiwis, they haven't dominated territory in possession, so you might expect England actually to have a fair bit of the ball. And that's also worth bearing in mind when thinking about this stuff. Okay, the other big question, of course, is who plays 15. Stewart played the first week, but then was injured. Marcus Smith played the second week. Elliot Daly's back and available. Tommy Freeman could play fullback as well if you wanted to slightly rejig things. But this is what I'm going to go with. The big decision, I'm going to go with Ford at 10. I think he is in a very decent range of form at the moment. And I think Finn Smith, although for me, I think Finn Smith is who England should be building around going forward. And I think they will. I think that's what will come going forward. I just think for this game, in these conditions, against his team as tactically astute as the All Blacks, I think you have to go with Ford, who's just a little bit better in that respect. Finn Smith hasn't been playing badly. I'm not saying he's out of form by any means, but he's not quite where he was during the Six Nations last year. He didn't play his best rugby on the Lions tour. He's come back and played well for Northampton, but last week again he wasn't quite where you want him to be, and Ford is when they're in possession. Of course, the flip side of this is that you get Ford's submissiveness almost in defence, whereas Finn Smith is going to hit people in defence. But as I said, I suspect England might have a lot of the ball in territory. So how big a factor is that going to be? I'm not so sure. So those are the reasons that I've gone with Ford, although I'm still a huge Finn Smith fan, and I think that's where England should be going in the short, medium and long term, to be honest. Choices in the centres. Again, it's an imperfect thing here because I think Dingwall's been right to have been given the shot. He hasn't really grasped it with both hands, but I still think he's the right player to be in there. I think, all the common things that we talk about him, he's a player that makes other people around him function and look better without getting the highlight reel moments himself. So I still think he's the right player there, along with Lawrence. And it hasn't quite clicked, but the signs are there. Lawrence is getting free, he's getting his arms free. And if he does that again on Saturday and he's sort of looking to Feo-Weboso on the outside, Feo-Weboso will likely be thinking Lawrence is going to get his arms free here because I've seen him do it before. So hopefully there'll be a bit more understanding, a bit more just timing the shirts together, and we'll see some benefit from that. Tommy Freeman, England's best right wing. I did consider sticking him to fullback and having Roebuck on the wing to, just to bulk up that aerial attack, being able to win those aerial balls back, but also Freeman's extra pace at fullback, which is where Stewart falls down. I didn't go with that in the end. For the sake of consistency, I would say as much as anything, I think with things being a little bit moving around inside them, I think we need to have players playing in their best positions as much as possible. So that's why I've gone with Freeman and Stewart at fullback. No Marcus Smith. I think based on how the game's likely to go, I think we're better off having the aerial ability of Stewart in there rather than the running ability of Smith. And too soon for Elliot Daly. Although, if he is 100% fit, I wouldn't be totally shocked to see him either. We'll see. Okay, onto the bench. George, Baxter and Hayes. I really like Jamie George's experience coming on towards the end of the game. He seems to have the bit between his teeth again at the moment as well. He seems to be really fired up to make the most of whatever's left of his career. Baxter being possibly England's best scrummaging loosehead at the moment, I would say. The scrum got better when he came on against Fiji, and he's a very, very solid operator all round. Coles, Pollock and Curry. I think that combination of Pollock and Curry coming off the bench is a really good one. I think it just adds so much in lots of different areas. And of course, Underhill rarely plays 80s. Curry rarely plays 80s. But the combination of the pair of them going at it for as hard as they can, for as long as they're on the pitch, is a fierce prospect. Ben Spencer covering scrum half, and I've gone with Marcus Smith. I think there's potential this game's going to be really tight, and I think it's very difficult to call. I think what you need on the bench is somebody who could come on and bring a moment of magic, and that's certainly Marcus. So harsh on Finn Smith to miss out on here. Of course, he could go in there, and then if something happened, he would end up playing 12 and everybody shift out. That could happen. But I think for this game, I think you go with Marcus and you have that ability to bring somebody on who can really do something magical out of the box, whatever it is, to create a win towards the end. Okay, what do I want from this game from England? I'm going to be brutally honest, and it's all about sport. I want them to win. That's what I want to see. How are they going to do that? Well, the primary thing, and I mentioned it in the intro, I want them to be controlling the things that they can control. And in terms of attack, that is being more clinical. They've created chances against both Australia and Fiji that they haven't converted. Too many of them, I should say, because you're never going to convert everyone, unless you're the All Blacks, obviously. But they need to be converting more than they've done so far. And I think just a bit more cohesiveness, a bit more time in camp, a bit more playing together, and we will likely see that. It is going to be a tough game. Like I say, I think it's very tight. I might do a preview video later in the week and we'll go through it in more detail. Let me know in the comments down below. Who do you think's favourites to win this game? Do you think England should win? New Zealand have won the last 3 games, which are in the last year. New Zealand have won by a combined tally of, I think, only 10 points. So all those games have been close. Very, very close. Let me know in the comments down below and I'll join you there for a friendly conversation. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other great rugby fans just like you find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.